Hey, it's Dillon Flynn from the show that you're listening to. My audio is a mess this week, and it's bad enough that I feel like I should come on here and acknowledge it before the show even starts. It's going to be the worst thing you've ever heard in your life. It's going to make you miserable. You're going to hate this episode. Hopefully not really, but if I set the bar that low, maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised. I guess the room that I'm in has really terrible acoustics. I'm going to fix it by next week. Also, in the middle, there was some static, and I did some digital trickery to remove it, and you're left with like a weird bubbling noise. But that doesn't last too long. Anyway, enjoy the show! Hello and welcome to Hallelujah Monkeyz for August 7th. My name is Dillon Flynn.
My name is Trevor Ickrath.
Yes, Trevor, we are back. We reformed our two-man Voltron.
We did. How are you feeling?
Much better. I tried to yell extra hard for my intro just so people would know that I'm back up to fighting shit. Just so potential usurpers who are like looking to bump me off and become the new co-host know that I'm back to 100%.
And I obviously shouldn't be planning on going solo full-time anytime soon.
Yeah, I was a little bit bummed to have missed that Damon Albarn interview, although...
We won't talk about that. The solo episodes are non-canonical, I think.
Okay,
greater frame of the show.
Well, I will say that I enjoyed all of that Hallelujah Monkeyz fan fiction that happened in my absence then.
I appreciate it. But now we're back to the regular show. Let's get moving. You want to we got some fun stuff to talk about in the news today. Do you want to get to that?
Let's get to a real proper news segment.
Proper.
It's all good news now.
Trevor, Gorillaz, it's award season, I guess. Gorillaz have been nominated for 2 Q awards. You'll remember, of course, Q Magazine did that big sort of coming out party feature for Phase 4.
All the magazines kind of blend together for me. But
Q
sure.
had the huge profile where, like, we learned about why Damon and Jamie fell out with each other. It had that huge cover.
Okay, yeah. So now they're up for 2 Q awards. I think they're Best Album for Humans.
Yep.
And I was a little surprised with this. Best Song, We Got the Power. Although apparently that is the, like, runaway successful single over in Europe, right?
Yeah. The Europeans, and I think especially the Brits, really, that one's the one that's on their radar.
They got weird taste over there.
They do have weird taste. This is kind of a reader's choice thing, so you can vote for Gorillaz in these categories, Trevor. You got to go to cuethemusic.com/q-awards/vote. If you go through it, it's just like 5 categories, and there's some Gorillaz adjacent acts that you can vote for as well. And then at the end, it's going to say, like, put your name and your email here. That's just if you want to do a raffle. You can skip that part and still vote. But go support Gorillaz for the Q
You
Awards.
might even say that you've got the power to help Gorillaz win these awards.
I would. I'd definitely say that. Trevor, 4 new G mixes have been posted to Spotify.
Ring the alarm.
Highlights include Whatever by some obscure-ish legacy act. And I didn't even look at these this time by who has time to listen to 40 songs worth of playlist once a month. I don't.
Who knows? Yeah, but there's some really we're a little panicky about the news this week because we just got some pretty exciting updates from Jamie Hewlett's Instagram.
No,
right?
from Gorillaz' Instagram.
Oh, the
Trevor.
fucking official one, Jesus! It's really DEFCON 5 here.
So I've been scooped twice before on the show, Trevor. What I mean by that is we finished recording an episode and I started editing an episode, and then something huge has happened. The 2 times that come to mind are when the Gorillaz app had like an unexpected early release, and then the second time were the North American dates, which was a painful scoop.
Yeah,
like
painful
I'm in the
loss.
middle of editing an episode, and all of a sudden the whole tour is announced.
That was a blowout. Yeah.
I'm so paranoid that that's about to happen with the Strobe Light video, Trevor, that I'm going to be working on this episode and it's going to drop. But okay, let's look at the evidence, okay?
Sure.
Exhibit A, a radio edit of Strobe Light has been released onto streaming services and digital storefronts, which reduces the song's runtime by about 68 seconds, Trevor. It loses...
That's a chunk. That's a minute.
I know. It loses the slow section and the Damon section.
Really? That's like my favorite part of the song.
Yeah, but have you ever encountered a radio edit that you enjoy? They all suck.
Yeah,
what
that's
do you
true.
do?
Actually, I kind of like the Stylo radio edit.
I can't remember what it omits.
It takes Mos Def's verse out of. It takes the first one out, and it just has him come in at the end.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. I remember that kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also a really terrible Dirty Harry one, I think, that omitted Booty Brown's verse entirely.
Now that you mention that, I vaguely kind of remember that.
Then Exhibit B. I need to describe the ISRC registry.
Do you really? Because I saw this in our notes, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, I can do it. It's kind of fun. Maybe it'll... Right. Well, I want to shout out a particular kind of Gorillaz nerd. There's reasons to talk about it.
Sure.
So, the ISRC is the International Standard Recording Code. It's kind of like the ISBN, which is the book number. Every book you have has a little number. You can look it up on the internet. But for songs. And not every band religiously posts everything they put out onto ISRC registries. Gorillaz always do. And so a lot of the news that is leaked out about upcoming Gorillaz releases, I remember the Super Deluxe tracks.
Isn't this how we originally learned all the track titles from Humans? And everyone was like, oh, no, they're fake, because there's like a song called Sex Murder Party.
Yeah, I think that's an ISRC thing too. Okay. So the ISRC is not set up for you to easily peruse and find that kind of thing. It's just for the industry. But Gorillaz always uploads new listings when they have something coming out, like imminently, like very, very shortly. And some true troopers within the fandom, like once a day, will browse through the several pages of hundreds of entries each that Gorillaz have on the ISRC registry to eagle-eyed look for new things on it. God bless you.
The Lord's work.
God bless you, fine young men and women who do this for us. And they just put up a new one, Trevor, for the video listing of Strobe Light.
All right, so, here we go.
And by the way, album length runtime. So we're not getting this edit in the video. No worries about that.
If I didn't get some visual accompaniment to that quiet part, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so here's the real shit, Trevor.
The real shit.
Exhibit C, the Gorillaz Instagram this morning as we were getting ready to record, posted a short video preview of the Strobe Light video. This one was of Peven Everett dancing in a circle. I believe he was singing the second line in the chorus. What's that one again? If the light, your life is needing. First of all, I love the visual aesthetic of this video that we've seen so far.
It looks pretty cool. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. That was a nice little clip they threw up there.
But this is not some Jamie Hewlett, this is what I'm working on Instagram post. This is the Gorillaz Instagram.
Yeah, it's coming. It's imminent. It's going to drop.
And then, Trevor, while I was putting this notes document together, they put another one out.
I didn't look at this one. Let me take a look at that one real quick.
Yeah, go look at that one now.
I'm looking in real time.
It's wacky. It's I believe we know that the person in this getup is Remy Kabaka.
Interesting.
With the
shutter shades on.
And he's sort of getting punched by a boxing glove. There's some wacky animated stars when he gets hit.
Should be a fun time. Do you think we're going to get a sound effect for that in classic Hewlett fashion?
Yes. I hope that it won't feel like a Jamie Hewlett video unless there's a bunch of unnecessary Foley work happening over the song.
Yeah.
To me, this I have a bad omen that this all means I'm going to make this fucking episode and this video is going to be out and I'm not going to be able to talk. But you know what? Either way, I'd be shocked if next week we don't review this Strobe Light video.
Oh, totally. This week for sure, if not within the next 2 hours.
Okay. That's the news. It's
time to why don't we pick our copies of Rise of the Ogre back up?
Let's reconvene the Hallelujah Monkeyz book club.
Calling it to order.
Drums are fall heavy like anvil weight. Higher than the sky scapegoat cheese. Order, please. Run, Joe, run. There are criminals behind you. Sidewinders and snakes, your moves define you. Remind you how I wish my brother Dell was here. Catalog originals, the experts clear.
Trevor, I've got a nice steamy brewed tea here. I'm wearing an Afghan. There's a roaring fire in front of me. I'm ready to talk about literature.
Yeah, you called out sick to our book report presentation last week, but now it's time to finally turn in our work and get our grade.
Let me just tell you, Trevor, I dropped out of college several times. I don't like homework.
I graduated. I'm a college-educated adult.
And then I have the worst, combination of personalities in me, Trevor, where the one thing that I hate more than doing work is doing bad work. So I'm like this unmotivated perfectionist, Constantly in the preparation for these episodes, I heard, the struggle within my mind of, these discussion questions aren't good enough versus, why the fuck do you care? Over and over again.
That's literally my day job. So we're picking up with part 2 of the book this week. Last week we completed part 1. It took us all the way from the early days of the band up through recording the self-titled, and kind of left us off after their adventures in Hollywood resulted in Murdoc leaving the band.
Yes, and smartly Cass Brown split that book down the middle between phase 1 and 2. So ostensibly, we're going to be talking about what you and I consider to be peak Gorillaz.
Totally, yeah, phase 2. Here we go. But before we get to the story picking back up, we've got a couple little sections that aren't exactly that. We've got a collection of every magazine cover the band was on, which is cool.
That's a neat little thing. I really love the influences map.
Oh yes, I wanted to talk to you about that. I think I don't know. I spent more time on these pages than I think anywhere else in the book.
Yeah, probably me too.
I think it's really cool. Right in the middle, there's a stretch where they all convene. You got Murdoc. The way it's laid out is every character has a line with a different color, and it just kind of works its way through all these influences, and so shows who likes what kind of music.
Yeah, and it's laid out to kind of look like the London Tube system.
Yes, yeah.
The color coding, and so it looks like you're looking at a complicated subway map, kind of.
Yeah, in the middle, there's this one stretch where they all convene, and I wanted to say who those were. It's Phil Spector.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
Abraham Ferrer.
Yes.
And Bob Marley.
This seems like a really good, fundamental, elemental Gorillaz influence list. You know what I mean?
And then on the top, there's another stretch where they all convene again, except for Murdoc.
Yeah, who are the bands that Murdoc doesn't like, but Noodle,
Russell, and Today do? There's Marvin Gaye,
mm-hmm.
Jimmy Cliff, Ray Barretto,
yep.
Ryuichi Sakamoto,
mm-hmm.
Brian Eno, the Sugar Hill Gang, and De La Soul.
De La Soul? Come on, Murdoc.
Yeah, I know Pasta News still owes you 5 pounds, but come on.
Come on.
But picking this story back up with chapter 7.
A Season in Hell, subheading. Murdoc goes to Mexico, summary. Murdoc heads to Tijuana for some R&R, pays his brothel tab with bad checks, and gets sentenced to 30 years in La Mesa State Prison. So begins kind of a theme, I guess, this episode, Trevor, is that a lot of what we're doing is going to be retracing what we've already done in We Are the Dury.
Yeah, this is where we get into Dury territory. Occasionally, sometimes it's just replicated word by word.
Yeah, every now and then. Usually you get, new stuff along the way. We meet a handful of lore characters in this chapter.
We do. We meet his his cellmates. There's Pedro Ears Lapezzo, although his ears are admittedly not his defining feature. Yeah. And there's also Carlos Three-Faced Benito.
Yes, and then of course you can forget Cortez the Raven, his jailbird.
Of course, yeah, this is where he meets him.
Jamie Hewlett, art imitating life, perhaps, with his own raven. I don't know if his name is Cortez. I certainly hope that it is. And then Murdoc has even issued a new name in this chapter, Prisoner 318008999. Now, I just want to point out something, Trevor. As I was reading, I was taking notes, and I wrote down, if you flip this over on a calculator, it'll say 666 booby, and then Murdoc pointed it out right after.
And then he says it, yeah.
Good to know. Good to know that we're eagle-eyed about calculator humor.
Yeah. So that's what Murdoc gets up to. He goes to jail. Then we have Russell Hobbs.
No. Have you gotten so soon? I have a discussion question for you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. I forgot they were section by section instead of chapter by chapter, because you just love making so much work for yourself.
Let's do it. Similar to Murdoc, Charlie Sheen and Jerry Springer famously wound up in legal trouble after writing checks to illegal brothels. Why don't you rank these three men in order of intelligence?
We got Murdoc, we got Charlie Sheen, and who is the third one?
Jerry Springer.
In terms of intelligence, Jerry Springer is one.
He was a mayor. He was a mayor at one point.
Murdoc is Jerry Springer, Charlie Sheen, Murdoc.
Murdoc not as smart as Charlie Sheen.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think he would be.
Do you remember when that ex-cop like flipped out and started shooting people, the sniper in California?
No.
I guess in his manifesto, he made a lot of references to Charlie Sheen. And so Charlie Sheen like recorded a video with the help of the Los Angeles police where he was like, "Hey, really liked your manifesto. Glad you had so many nice things to say about me. Please give me a call. You can find me."
Who's the best public figure to leave lots of references to in like your notebooks and stuff before you go on a shooting spree?
Now
like if you were to go like all the dude who like killed John Lennon, what album would you have like tons of copies of on cassette in your jacket when you did it?
What's the Ed Sheeran album that beat Humans in the UK? It would be that one. Just leave them scratching their heads forever.
Yeah.
Subheading, Russell Hobbs, the Breakbeat Breakdown. Summary, Russell is down and out, the last gorilla in L.A. Meanwhile, wee Jimmy Manson's cult turns sinister, and the Grim Reaper finally comes for Dell. Also, Ike Turner nurses Russell back to health.
Maybe.
Polar Bear and Crocodile, we meet them in this chapter, Trevor.
Yeah, we do.
As per Russell, they are decent people. But maybe he's not the best judge because he does shack up with Ike Turner, noted wife beater.
Yeah, and he's like literally crazy here. He absolutely loses his mind.
Yeah, he goes totally nuts. I really actually, something I loved about this chapter was the detail of whenever the Grim Reaper is near you, he gives off a really intense heat. I've never heard that before in Grim Reaper lore, and I really enjoyed it.
That's pretty good. I love that picture we get of Russell with that fan and the Grim Reaper behind him.
That's a great picture. I love both of the
really
pictures
good.
we get of like down and out Russell with the scruffy beard and the trucker cap and fucked up shirt,
Yeah, that facial hair works.
Yeah, it's a good look. You should bring it back. I also very much enjoy that Russell says that he started wearing tie-dyed caftans. I think they might have a picture of that a little later on. I wish that there was more of that. I could have used plenty of those pictures. If you're a pharmaceutical nerd like me, you might want to know a little bit about Russell's medication regimen. He's currently, or at least at the time of this book, he was on Lexotan. That's an anxiolytic. It's a benzo. It's similar to Valium, Trevor.
Okay.
And then he was also on Risperdal, which is an antipsychotic. Pretty serious antipsychotic, treats schizophrenia and bipolar. And it's the one antipsychotic that they use to treat children. As I was talking about medicine, my wife, who is a doctor, wandered into the room, never more interested look on her face about my Gorillaz podcast. Y'all talking about medicine, she says. She's very excited about that. Let's move on to a discussion question. Trevor, if you knew the Grim Reaper was coming for you in 24 hours, name 2 things you'd do with your last day.
I would definitely send all of the petty texts I've ever wanted to send to people.
Oh, for sure. All the X's and...
Yeah, so that's one.
Now, are you... If that's a negative karma one, do you feel compelled to do a positive karma one, or is that not your style?
No, not at all.
Good. I'd be disappointed if it was any other way.
I don't know. Probably something illegal, right?
Right. So, what's the one that you've always wanted to try, but were too afraid of the repercussions? I guess. I
don't know. Probably I don't know. I don't know if I want to go on record saying it.
Just imagine the worst possible answer, and it's probably that.
Some real like depraved shit.
Do you think that the Grim Reaper would be like impressed with your commitment to your final day?
I think he has to be. I think he has to be totally removed from it. I don't think he's allowed to, have any kind of opinion.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's just his job. He's like, I'm not here to judge. Just picking you up.
Trevor, moving on to subheading: Noodle down and out in Osaka, Japan. Summary: Noodle wanders the land of the rising sun in search of her mysterious past, is reactivated by a code phrase, remembers her training as part of an elite and classified army of child soldiers, and returns to Khan Studios to get down to business.
Right, we meet another character here, Mr. Kyozo.
Yeah, there's an interesting picture of him with a very young Noodle, like maybe a pre-phase 1 Noodle?
Maybe, yeah, that's a pretty good one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, so the idea here is, as you know, Noodle was amnesiac, was stricken with amnesia, and went out hoping to unlock it. It turns out that amnesia was like programmed into her by a secret wing of the Japanese government.
Right, and the code word to wake her back up was ocean bacon, which she hears in a steamed fish shop while wandering around downtown Tokyo.
Which her former master happens to be working in. And we learned that there are 22 others like her, but each of them have activation code phrases, and now Noodle has those activation code phrases in her chest pocket.
Which is interesting because 2D brings those up without Noodle having brought them up first.
Oh, yeah, that is kind of weird.
Did you notice that? He's like, what'd you do with those codes that that the guy gave you? And she goes, keep them right here in my pocket. And I had to turn back to the other page to see if she talks about like any kind of reactivation codes or anything like that. And there's no talk of that here.
There's a couple of leaps in logic in this book that we'll get to.
Yeah.
That's one of them for sure. Yeah, look, you know what? In this chapter and in the Russell chapter, I found myself for the first time in this book feeling a little bit irritated by Murdoc's constant interjections.
Yeah, there's, like I said, I mean, you can only enjoy this book so far as you can enjoy Murdoc Nichols.
Right? But then, especially now when they're all scattered to the wind and they're not together, like, why is Murdoc chiming in? Just give Russell his chance. Give Noodle her chance. But I think Cass Brown is like, he uses Murdoc like a crutch at times. And
he's the easiest thing to wring humor out of. And Cass feels like it needs to, constantly be funny.
Noodle, by the way, every child soldier was given a special like skill. Noodles, of course, being that she is fluent in all instruments with a specialty in guitars. And then my favorite line in this chapter, Trevor, this is a genuine lull for me, was Mr. Hughes assumed, judging by the previous international success of other British bands, that I would be able to perform for some time in relative obscurity.
Who would have guessed, eh?
His plan, of course, was to send her to be in a British pop band because then nobody would ever recognize her or know who she was. Discussion question. So every child in the Secret Army was given a special individual skill, assuming that you, Trevor Icarus, are a product of a secret government child soldier program. What do you think your special skill was?
What do I think it was, or what would I want it to be?
No, what do you think it was? Like, look at your personality. What's the thing that you received secret training for that you're inexplicably good at?
I'm a very manipulative person.
Ooh, that's cool.
So probably something like that.
Silver tongue.
Yeah, something like that. What about you? You haven't been answering any of these. It's a discussion, Dylan, back and forth.
Cooking. I have like a really intuitive approach to cooking. I'll often just like start cooking by dicing up some onions and carrots and celery and then figure out what I'm making along the way, and it almost always turns out great.
Sounds really cool. I was going to say, like, when I asked, like, if it was, like, what I thought it would be or what I would want it to be, what I would want it to be would be cooking.
Hey, that's cool. Subheading 2D. All right, darling. Summary. After a brief tryst in L.A. with a 70s sex symbol, 2D heads back to his hometown, hits up his dad for a job as a carny, forms a douchebag entourage, and rules the roost as a celeb in a small town, and gets well into monster trucks.
So is this the best, like, Gorillaz following LA sequence? Or
what? Yeah, for sure. It's one of the best chapters of the book, in my opinion.
Again, he's back. Brian Setzer.
Yeah, they bump heads with him once again.
Well, this chapter's got quite a cast, so let's go through it as we get to them. First, Brian Setzer's back of Stray Cat fame. Can we play a little bit of Stray Cat Strut under this? Because
sure.
I don't like this one as much as Rock This Town, but it's still fun.
Yeah, it's got that similar vibe though. So if you like one, you might like the other.
I can't imagine it being a hit though. So
I gotta talk about Shane Lynch. I think he's the MVP of this chapter, dude.
Well, first we've got Britt Eklund. He goes around and stays by Britt Eklund's flat, as we heard in We Are the Dury.
Britt Eklund was a very beautiful person. If physical beauty is important to you, then Britt Eklund might be somebody who you're interested in.
He says, Britt was just wandering around with her backside out naked, banging on the walls all night, which we've heard. And then there's some other idiot playing a wooden flute in the other room. When they started building that massive wicker statue, I just thought, you know what? I've had enough of all this.
Britt Eklund, of course, played sort of the siren-like character in the 1970s horror movie The Wicker Man. Good movie. Worth a peek. And yeah, then, if I'm not mistaken, then, finally...
Yes, then he goes back to work at his dad's fair, and he becomes good mates with Shane Lynch, a former member of the 19th century boy band X-Boyzone.
X-Boyzone, 20th, not 19th.
But they say 19th in the book.
I know, but that's Cass Brown having a problem.
Well, he now takes money on the carnival ride, the Wurlitzer. You
know what? I'm going to fade out Stray Cat Blues, and I'm going to give us a new music bed. The one Boyzone hit, no matter what. It's happening right now, underneath us.
I don't think I've heard this one.
It's terrible. It's not good. Anyway, there's a moment in this chapter, Trevor, where all story pauses and Shane Lynch just starts talking about monster trucks. It's like, I was laughing so hard when it happened.
It's a really long sequence.
I was really excited. It's just Shane Lynch loves monster trucks, and he knows a lot about them, and he wants to tell you about them.
Is this directly from Shane himself, do you think?
I
hope. Did they call him up?
I hope so, man. I hope so. That just seems
I hope he really is this person, yeah.
Here's a discussion question for you, Trevor. With a grimmer outlook, I feel like 2D's chapter might have been the most miserable of the four, but instead, his simple mind and lack of ambition allowed him to have a really good time during the hiatus. Would you, Trevor Ickrath, rather be stupid and happy or smart and sad?
Well, as somebody who is smart and sad, I think, the grass is always greener. So I can't really say, but if I was able to experience the two, I can imagine probably being like stupid and happy would be better.
Right? I mean, certainly I'd love a 24-hour trial period where you get to try that on like a glove and then come back to your old way and be like, oh yeah, fuck this. We're going back to that. Yeah. Thanks.
Ignorance is bliss, right?
Ignorance is bliss. Chapter 8! We finished the chapter, Trevor! Chapter 8, live tonight, zombies, death, disease, tequila. This little non-subheading section is summarized as Noodle battles her way into a zombie-infested Kong Studios, is horrified by talent search and reality TV shows, and starts demoing Demon Days to light a candle rather than curse the darkness.
I really love that establishing shot of her in the parka with the monkey standing in front of Kong Studios at night in the rain. Yeah, that's from the website, right?
It is. I wonder, is that supposed to be her zombie-proof suit? It doesn't seem very rugged if it is.
I don't know. It just looks cool. It makes me think of her camped out in there all by herself, just recording this album, waiting for the others to return.
Should we consider Noodle's Tamagotchi to be a lore character?
I don't think so, because it's dead, right?
I do like to shout out to the Tascam 4-track. Tascam 4-track, famously, Damon Albarn used that, I believe, on Demo Crazy, and I think he used it to make Mix 2 and also Mr. Softies. Good old Tascam 4-track.
All right.
Discussion question. So, the zombie scourge is supposed to have been caused by bad television? Can you rank these 4 types of shitty television from most to least zombifying? Okay?
Okay.
Reality show, 24-hour news, laugh track sitcom, and talent contest.
Most to least?
Most to least.
I'm going to go least to most.
Go least to most. It's more dramatic.
Least would probably be... Yeah, I think that one's probably least.
Because supposedly, at least in the center of it, there's some kernel of a person who can do a thing.
Yeah, even if it's for the wrong reasons. Then I think the news.
Ooh, really? That's not too high. 24-hour news. Okay, yeah, I like it.
Then I would probably say reality shows.
Reality shows second most, but not as zombifying
as laugh track comedies or whatever the last one was. Yeah, that would probably be. That's my that's my Clockwork Orange situation. Where they sit you down and keep your eyes open and show you nonstop barrage of this really triggering kind of visual stuff. Yeah, I'm just picturing you with no pupils, just white eyes,
and laughing in time with the laugh track and all
with Big Bang Theory and stuff like that. Yeah.
Subheading. Meanwhile, back in Hobbstown, Summary. A slowly stabilizing Russell worked with Ike Turner on an album that was supposed to heal the world, but ended up being some sort of demonic hypnosis weapon. So he scrapped it and mourned the absence of his ghostly other half. What do you make of the fact that this section begins March 40th, 2003?
Oh my God. So this album was supposed to be called The Seventh Heaven Hip Hop and Harmony Album.
Yeah.
And it's described as being the breakbeat Pet Sounds, which is something I'd listen to.
For sure. This made me very excited to think that, maybe there's some real-life equivalent of this, an album that Danger Mouse and Ike Turner were working on together. Anyway.
Well, no, this is probably, what was that Dan Nakamura album that never came out?
Oh, yeah, Omakase. This is also one of the chapters in which Russell says, Del was, in a very real way, my soulmate for so long.
Ship it.
Ship it. Okay, I got a discussion question. This one's real juicy, okay? With which collaborators would you partner up the other 3 band members to make side project albums? You can do collaborators from across the Gorillaz project, but pair each of the other 3 off with one of them to go make an album during a hiatus.
Okay, I think it would be pretty cool to have 2D team up with either Terry Hall or the Clash members.
Sure, yeah. Terry Hall was my choice as well. I think that like 2D would be like, obviously he'd want to.
Yeah.
What about Murdoc?
I want to give Murdoc, I want to give him like Roots Manuva and Popcorn.
Dude, that'd be really fun. That'd be like an out of left field kind of a rap rock album, maybe?
Just like some really heavy dubby bass.
I kind of imagine Sean Ryder with Murdoc.
That'd be fun too.
They try to make this album about how they were these rock and roll bad boys, but it would turn out like Dancing in the Street to be very homoerotic,
Mm-hmm. So for Noodle, I would want to pair her up with Dennis Hopper and Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh, yeah. That'd be crazy.
I think that would be some really cool kind of like maybe like post-hardcore spoken word stuff with like really sharp angular guitar.
And for you people clamoring that Dennis Hopper couldn't do it, lest you forget, plenty of ghosts have appeared on Gorillaz songs.
Yeah. So you said, who did you say? You said Terry Hall with 2D, Sean Ryder with Murdoc.
Yeah, and then with Noodle, I thought it would be. I actually had her with the Clash. I thought that would be dope.
Oh, that'd be sick too. Yeah, definitely.
Trevor, let's get into a chapter about which I have some things to say. Subheading: Jailbreak. Summary: Murdoc gets his PhD and some tattoos, and after a very poorly described jailbreak, makes one last trip to the brothel and heads back to the UK. I want to mention that he's now Dr. Nichols. He can write his own prescriptions.
And he's legally entitled to experiment on monkeys.
It's true. Let's get into the problem, Trevor.
Sure.
Cass Brown asks Murdoc, "How did you escape?" Murdoc says, "I built a papier-mâché version of myself, put it in the bed, recorded a tape loop of me moaning so the jailers would think I was just having a bad morning. They probably think I'm still hungover in bed as we speak." The end. What did he do to get out of prison? He made a papier-mâché version of himself and a tape loop, then he just teleported out of prison. Like, what happened?
There's a little gap there, isn't there?
Dury isn't a lot of help. I went back to Dury to see if we got more info. They just said that 2 inmates helped him break out and now he owes them, but there's no missing some info.
The world may never know.
Discussion question. Do you think Cass Brown knows what jails are?
I think he's hung around Jamie Hewlett enough times to have gone down to a real jail and bail somebody out himself.
That's a good point. For the record, El Chapo dug a tunnel. Dig a tunnel.
Dig a tunnel. He went the Ferris Bueller approach. He should have gone the Shawshank Redemption approach.
Shawshank Redemption approach for sure, right? Put up a Brit Awards poster to hide your little hole.
Meet Morgan Freeman on a beach.
Do you think that when he initially threw that rock at that poster, he was like, "Oh, he probably fucked that hole behind that poster."
Eastbourne, Essex. Tickets, please.
Summary. After Noodle sends out a group text, the rest of the band arrives at Kong Studios to be debriefed on the new album. I do like the line, "A drunk, a dimwit, and a crazy man is a hard way to start a revolution."
That's the lineup. We referenced this way back in our first episode. This is the section that has the piece of artwork where you see 2D's dick.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And the caption, Murdoc says that it's his thumb. It is a weird picture.
Those are 2D. You do realize your thumb's poking right out of the front of your jeans.
But obviously, it's a different part of it.
It's a little wiener.
Discussion question. 2D mentions in this chapter wanting to give Murdoc a kicking for mistreating him. Unarmed, man on man, who wins in a fist fight between these two?
Murdoc.
That's what I want to say, right? But
2D looks like he's 30 pounds.
He's very small, but he has reach. He probably has reach on him, doesn't he?
Yes, Murdoc is Murdoc much shorter?
I'll say that it's the long shot, but I'm a gambling man, so I might take those 2D odds. I might take them.
Okay. Yeah, when he's off his meds, who knows?
Chapter 9, The Making of Demon Days. This is, I think, the longest chapter in the book, Trevor.
Yeah, this was, I found myself getting through these chapters a lot quicker than the ones in part 1, but yeah, this one took a while.
It did. Subheading, Who Put the Chemicals in the Food Chain? Summary. Noodle is inspired by a train ride. The band lays down their tracks. A producer is hired. Celebrity guest stars come to Kong. The production moves to London for overdubs, and Demon Days is finished.
Right, so this one starts out with Noodle giving pretty much a direct recount of Damon Albarn's train story about moving through the Chinese countryside.
Yeah, and waking up and suddenly it's a beautiful day. You go to sleep and it's this nightmarish haunted landscape. You wake up and it's beautiful, and the interplay between those two visions of the earth inspired the album. I like when they do that. I like when they copy paste the real stuff into the lore.
She says, this journey is what inspired the origins of the record, the idea of the world falling to pieces.
According to the Lord, Dan did not come back because he was afraid of the spirits in Kong Studio.
Yeah, and we get some more quotes from Murdoc where we just like get the impression that he really doesn't like him.
Yeah, I wonder what that all comes from. You know, there was an article with Gerling and Jason Cox, I think, where they sort of slagged Dan off without slagging them off. I never quite understood exactly where things left off with those two.
Who knows? But now we have Danger Mouse.
Yes, I love that Danger Mouse was, after completing the Grey album, but before being hired by Gorillaz, was working on the 23 album, a mashup of Pearl Jam's 10 and Blur's 13.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. Here's my discussion question, Dillon. What one song from 10 by Pearl Jam and Blur's 13 would you mash up together?
No, that's a good question. Hang on, let me look at some track lists. I want to hear a mashup of Caramel and Black.
Black Caramel.
Because they're both colors already, that's Danger Mouse's thing, and also both are really great songs.
Yeah, I would want to see him mash up Even Flow with Trim Trab.
That'd be crazy.
Right, that'd be pretty cool.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Log S if you're listening.
Please. I really like the small detail that Danger Mouse got rich off the Grey album.
Yeah, I love that. Because that's the other thing they sometimes do, which is like the exact opposite of real life. Okay, Russell defines most of the Demon Days collaborators, like their role. So I want to just go through those real quick, okay?
Sure.
Dennis Hopper, the anti-establishment legend. De La Soul, the positive force of hip-hop. Roots Manuva and Martina Topley Bird, ethereal siblings. Ike Turner, the dark force of soul. Sean Ryder, he gets 3. The most prodigal son, the voice of hedonistic funk, and the pantomime villain, which, by the way, is how he should be introduced if he ever becomes a professional wrestler. Booty Brown, the conscientious objector, and Nana Cherry, the streetwise B-girl. Like all of those, why doesn't MF Doom get one? Damon, this is where we get the news that Damon gave 2D a bunch of vocal coaching, and so that's why 2D...
That's why his voice is lower, yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like he's doing an impression of Al Barnes' voice half the time, according to Murdoc. Okay, there's a Dionne Warwick mention here, Trevor.
Who?
Dionne Warwick, who we know, famous, easy listening and soul singer, who we know Damon Albarn has approached on this album, Plastic Beach, and Humans, to collaborate with him, and each time she's turned him down.
Bummer.
Most recently on Humans, I think she actually sat down at a piano with him, so progress, I guess? But the way that she's positioned in this chapter, it sounds like he wanted her to be on Every Planet We Reach is Dead.
That could have been cool.
Yeah, positioning her as like the other elder statesman along with Ike Turner on the song.
It's hard for me to think of Every Planet We Reach is Dead as being any better than it actually is, so I think it came out pretty well. Yeah,
no complaints.
Yeah.
And honestly, Dionne Warwick, I don't know why David has such a hard-on for her. Like, she's sort of, to me, she's always been kind of like the uncooler side of grandma music to me. I don't know. Roots Manuva, this is the best. Okay. Roots Manuva has invented his own demonic potion. Okay, Trevor? Once it's consumed, he has the ability to change from Mr. Roots Manuva into Lord Gosh, an evil upper-class 18th century thug who prowls the London backstreets by night, issuing cudgel blows to the poor.
I really liked the way they covered Roots Manuva in this section. Like, he's cast as being
that might be like my favorite sentence in this book, to be honest. Just the idea of this evil, dapper British gentleman beating up poor people. Lord, listen, I know we do this every week, but come on, fan artists.
Yeah.
Come on, fan artists. I gotta see Lord Gosh. J.B. Hewlett failed us by not drawing him in this book, so pick up his slack. Russell also called Danger Mouse the fifth gorilla in this chapter. What do you make of that?
I mean, I do think he played an integral part in creating Demon Days.
Didn't he make Roadkill, the Roadkill mixtape? There was a promo CD issued around the time that the Dirty Harry single came out, I think.
Yeah.
That was like a mashup album of a bunch of Gorillaz influences and Gorillaz music.
Which is really cool. It's got, one thing I remember in particular is Booty Brown's verse from the classic Far Side song Passing Me By. Danger Mouse took that and put it over the, I think it was the Tomorrow Comes Today instrumental. And
that's a cool mixtape, and I believe in lore, Russell Hobbs made it, which makes me a little bit disappointed that it's not covered in this otherwise, very excruciating and exactingly complete.
Yeah, one of the very few things that doesn't make it into Rise of the Ogre.
Would have really liked to have seen that. But go check out Roadkill the mixtape. I'm sure you and I will be reviewing it sooner than later.
Totally, yeah. If we can find it, I have no idea where I'd even begin looking for that.
I think it's on YouTube, last I checked.
Is it on YouTube?
I think
Everything's on YouTube.
I got a discussion question for you. Trevor, this chapter made me very sad that we don't have any in-universe backstories for the humans collaborators. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that you can give me like a Cass Brownian lore about any one of them. Anyone you want to tell me a little bit about what happened when they met Gorillaz.
So I'm not sure if this is Cass Brownian or if this is just something that like the band would say in like an interview. But I think it'd be funny if they talked about how like they kind of, they patched things up with Damon Albarn following the dispute over his demo tapes from Plastic Beach.
Right.
And he arranged for some collaborators for them, and one was Vince Staples. But I think there'd be like a great interview segment where they're talking about waiting for this rapper that Damon had arranged for them to work with to show up at the studio. Then Murdoc starts talking about how like, oh yeah, while we were waiting, this office supply delivery boy showed up. And since the rapper Damon never came to the studio, we just had him lay down a verse instead. And then 2D, I think, would chime and go, yeah, I think we worked with his mom or something as well.
That's great. That's so Cass Brownian.
Yeah.
You should be writing the space, Trevor.
I should run Gorillaz. Damon wants to pass it to somebody. Guys, what about you?
Yeah, okay, so I immediately went to Benjamin Clementine, and I believe that Benjamin Clementine is actually the dictator of an unknown nation, like a Wakanda-style, Fertile Crescent nation.
Sure.
And they saw a copy of his speech and thought, well, this is delicious. We got to get this on the record. So
that'd be great.
They phoned him up, and he showed up with his full armed entourage to lay it down on record.
I like that a lot.
Okay. Subheading, Demon Days Song by Song. Summary. The band is a track-by-track breakdown of the album that can be heard almost word for word in We Are the Dury. For more info, go listen to our episode about that.
Yeah, just I would say a good 80% of this is cribbed directly from those interviews.
It is. I was a good little boy and went back to like a transcript of We Are the Dury and this chapter just to make sure that if there was any relevant lore that we didn't skip it over. So I got 3 bits for you, Trevor.
All right, let me get those bits.
Oh, Green World. Murdoc says, at the beginning of this, my bloody Raven Cortez flapped his way into the studio and started puking his squawk all over the track. Listen. Ah!
That is something that's never left me for some reason, although I didn't remember that it originated here, and I kind of started thinking that I just made it up. Like, oh, that one sample is Murdoc's Crow, right?
It's Murdoc's
Crow. And then I read it here, and I was like, I was right.
You were right. It must have been stuck in your head.
So what else do we got?
El Mañana. Russell says, I programmed the beat completely by accident when I sat on my drum machine. It sounded all over the place, but if you listen to it, it does kind of make sense.
That's a cool detail, because it's very true. That beat is all over, like, everywhere.
It is wild, yeah. It's crazy beat programming. Certainly not the kind of beat programming we would hear one album later on Plastic Beach, courtesy of David Albarn.
No. I do like that Cass calls El Mañana a quaalude for the soul.
That's fun. I do like that, too. Yeah. November has come. This is the best one.
Because they finally learned a little more about MF Doom, I guess. They didn't just have to replicate his Wikipedia page here.
So Murdoc caught MF Doom literally in his talent catcher butterfly net, and then he sprayed him with a homemade concoction called Ambition for Men that seduces men into being collaborators. And then Murdoc says he was headbutting the walls, opening cans of beer with his mad metal face. Absolutely nuts. I had a stopwatch and I said, see how many words you can say inside the first 30 seconds. Boy, oh boy, did he deliver. That's
really good. Yeah, I'm glad they decided to flesh this one a little bit out, a little more.
Yeah, that we totally needed. Because, I mean, he's a living cartoon character. You need some MF Doom lore.
Yeah.
You know? Again, there's much more here. I wish we could do a full breakdown with you guys like we did last episode with the self-titled track by track, but you should go back to our We Are the Dury episode if you are clamoring for a little bit more Gorillaz on Demon Days action.
So here's my discussion question, though. Do you think Cass purposefully, recreated We Are the Dury here, or do you think he was just like, gotta write something about Demon Days, and his mind was just wired to reproduce the exact same thing?
Like Cass Brown is some kind of living computer that he didn't even know. No, for sure. It's
He's like, why is this
directly.
coming out all easily? It's almost like I've almost written this before.
You know what? If there's a lore of Cass Brown making this book, then sure, that's what happened. Here's my discussion question, Trevor. What, in your opinion, is the worst episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz?
I would say our music video episode is down there just because it's kind of like the least interesting topic to me.
I was going to say the DVDs. The DVDs, I think we did. I don't think it's a bad episode. I just think it's our worst episode.
I think the DVDs is a really fun episode. I think that one's got a really good tone to it.
I wonder if it's colored by the experience in the room.
Maybe.
Of it feeling like an interminable thing to record.
And obviously, our first episode, we probably just weren't quite there yet. I would love to go back and redo that original trilogy of Gorillaz, Demon Days, Plastic Beach. Maybe not even Plastic Beach, because I think Plastic Beach is where we started to hit our stride. Wow, is it really interesting to hear us talking about our own podcast?
Add it to but I'll tell you right now, the first 3 albums we reviewed, add it to the log list of things that we'll eventually do.
Yep. Yeah.
To answer your other question, no, it's not interesting. Let's move on. Subheading, Rocket, summary. Noodle releases proof of the undead scourge that has defiled Kong Studios in the form of a lesser Gorillaz video. I guess in this chapter we meet Pazuzu, the demon statue.
Right.
Anything you'd like to say about this?
This was not as interesting to me as seeing the actual creation of Rocket in Bananas, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, for sure. We got plenty to say about Rocket coming up ahead, but for now, I have a discussion question for you. Noodle made the Rocket video to warn us about a zombie outbreak. Is it possible that she made the Documatic video to warn us about an aquatic hipster douchebag invasion? Is it possible?
She definitely got her message across. And I mean,
they're coming for
Daly
us.
didn't really have too much of a career after this, so I guess it worked.
It worked! Subheading, grand reopening of Kong Studios. Summary, Gorillaz relaunched their website, and Cass Brown writes another mercifully short section telling you about how you can play games there and click on stuff.
And here's also where we got a great picture of Sir Brian of Mouse, Danger Mouse's great-great-great-grandfather and Kong Studios frequenter back in the day.
I love that picture of him in his
with the ruffled collar.
You can imagine showing up to those hedonist parties back in the Emmerich Kong days, you know. Zombie Flesh Eaters we also meet here, and I love what Murdoc says about Zombie Flesh Eaters. Of course, Zombie Flesh Eaters is Jamie Hewlett's sort of multimedia production company. Murdoc says, they, along with Jamie Hewlett, should be thoroughly imprisoned for crimes against art, technology, and design.
Nice shout-out.
And I also appreciated the shout-out to the Porta-Cabin, the frustratingly tiny Phase 1.5 Gorillaz.com landing page.
Oh, shit, I forgot about that thing.
Yeah. They took down Kong Studios after Phase 1 wrapped up, and all you had was this little sad Porta-Cabin to click around. I don't remember what was in it. There was a couple of things you could click in it. Discussion question. Trevor, what is your favorite room or screen in any Phases Kong Studios?
I really like the lobby in Phase 2 with that demon sitting behind the counter. I think it's just such a good. You already know what you're in for.
I agree. I totally agree. That's probably top 5 for me. You know, my number 1 though was Murdoc's Trans Am from Phase 1, where you could listen to an 8-track of the Space Monkeys remix of 2000.
That one is cool. That's a good choice.
It just makes me feel like you're getting stoned in a Trans Am with Murdoc. You know.
Sure.
Okay, Trevor. We got stuff to talk about. Subheading: Search for a Star. Summary. To suss out if the zombie plague has reached across the globe, Noodle holds an international talent search and does an AMA before Reddit was even a thing. Before we talk about Search for the Star, can we just briefly talk about Noodle Blast?
Sure, yeah.
Noodle Blast, a terrible name for anything.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sounds like a cum joke, for sure, right? I don't know if I got a question answered during a Noodle Blast, Trevor, but I definitely posted questions during a Noodle Blast.
I don't think I was on board here yet.
This was on forums.gorillaz.com, the OMB, the original message board.
The OMB.
I think there were 4 of them in Phase 2, early in Phase 2, not late in Phase 2. Noodle showed up and for a dedicated period of time, I'm assuming it was Cass Brown, would answer questions that you posted in a special part of the forum. I guess this actually was kind of a more limited version of the very, very early official message board. before the Tomorrow Comes Today promo was even issued, I guess, you could log on and talk to members of Gorillaz on the forums, like, daily.
Right. There's that great article out there about Murdoc actually saving some kid's life.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Search for a Star.
Do you have any fond memories of Search for a Star? Because there's one video that I remember very well.
You know what I remember about Search for the Star? I remember people being real angry about Search for the Star. I remember the fan base being very upset with how it was being run, just feeling sort of cheated by the whole thing. It's kind of that thing where, like, the second you're told you can have something, you feel entitled to it, you know?
Right, yeah.
And I guess it was a little bit ill-advised because ultimately they course-corrected and ended it as well as it could be ended. But at the time, it was just kind of like, whether you uploaded a single image or a full video or a song, you were all in the same pool and people were just voting for their favorite. So every week the leaderboard would just be video entries and nobody gave a shit about songs or images.
Definitely should have been different categories, right?
Definitely should have been. And then at the end they course corrected and picked a winner from each category. So it kind of worked out. Tell me, what's your specific memory about Search for a Star?
Well, I really wanted to find the video and show it to you because I know you're familiar with it as well. You might have forgotten. But all I was able to find was this great summary that somebody on one of the old boards wrote of it. So let me read that to you real quick.
Okay.
A man in a wife beater and a sombrero is apparently tweaking out on some kind of substance. He rips his shirt down the middle, channeling the Incredible Hulk, and in a cracking voice screams, "Motorcycle bitch."
And I believe that's the name of the song.
An obviously irritated Russell snaps in with, "Oh, I know what you're looking at," while Noodle, in her usual naivete, offers only, "Russell, is this your father?" Though it could easily be mistaken for one, I'm not describing a Franz Kafka LSD flashback. The man on the screen is Tommy Tunes, and this is his music video, Motorcycle Bitch, which is featured in the 4th round of Gorillaz' online-only talent competition Search for a Star. As the song progresses, Tommy's guitarist is seen engaging in what is, by all appearances, the brutal public rape of a blonde groupie. 2D seems impressed enough, exclaiming, "This must have taken you ages to do."
Oh, God.
And do you know who the author of that forum post was?
Yes, I do.
It was a young Dillon Flynn in 2005.
I would have been 16 or 17 at the time. I was writing editorials about Gorillaz.
Yep.
There was a music video called Motorcycle Bitch, and it was terrible.
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to exist on the internet anymore, and I'm so upset about that.
Yeah, that was part of the problem. So the way that it worked when you were watching the Search for the Star audition is you'd look at the image or the video or listen to the song, and then there were like these pre-recorded quips that the band would say. I quoted a few of them there in that editorial.
Russell, is this your father?
Russell, is this your father? I can still hear her saying it. And that one was awful. It was really. I'm still slightly scarred by it. Like, why are you depicting a rape in your stupid music video about motorcycles? And why is it in this Gorillaz talent contest?
You know, my theory there is that Tommy Tunes did not submit this to the context. I'm pretty sure this was some kid finding it on YouTube, ripping it, and submitting it. There's no way Tommy, this guy was like, I'm gonna submit my Motorcycle Bitch music video to this animated band.
I wish we could find it too.
I wish we could just fade up a little bit of Motorcycle Bitch right now, but yeah.
Tommy Tunes, if you're out there, get in touch.
Please come on the show.
Let's talk about the winners. Let's talk about the winners of Search for a Star, okay?
Sure.
So the video winner was a video called Table Manners by Carl Sowerby. This was also the grand prize winner of the whole contest. It was kind of like a little limited animation of doodles on different pieces of paper who were like talking to each other. You can still find it on YouTube, and at the time, fans were very angry that this was the winning entry because Carl, admittedly was not a fan of the band. And he made the film independent of the contest and submitted it and didn't even remember that he had submitted it until he was rung up to be told that he had won the contest.
Correct.
Now, that, I think, is kind of cute and a good story. Maybe a little bit better than, like, a bunch of fans made sure that a fellow fan won.
Yeah.
Each one of these people made a little something that was included in the DVD single release of the double A-side of El Mañana and Kids with Guns. So much later in the phase, these winners would go on to, make some media for that release.
Mm-hmm.
So Carl Silverby, he made the official visual for the Don't Get Lost in Heaven demo. Did you watch this, Trevor?
Maybe when it came out, not since then, though.
It's like a dude walking to that groovy beat. Not great. None of these are great. Well, no, one of them's really good. The other two are not great. The audio winner was a song called Indian Dance by an artist named Acidus. I could not find that song anywhere, but his remix of Dirty Harry, which is called the Uno Quattro remix, you can find that on YouTube, and it is a mess.
That one I remember, yeah.
It's got really, really bad beat matching, especially on Goody Brown's bit, and then it's especially notable, Trevor, because it makes extensive use of, all of the circa 2005 era garage band loops. It's just all of them are in that song. All of the blues riffs and little drum solos, all of them are in that song. In fact, let's hear a little bit of that behind me as I talk about the image winner. This one's a little bit cooler. So the image winner was an image called Tootie and Paula, and it was by Schneeflock, who was a pretty active member of the fan community back in the day.
I remember Schneeflock, yeah. I remember distinctly not knowing how to pronounce their name.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think she was Ukrainian.
Something
I think she was
like
maybe from the Ukraine. Anyway, if you Google 2D and Paula Schneeflock, you can see that image. It's still one of the more famous fan images of Paula Cracker that exists.
Little fan image of Paula Cracker there.
Little Ukrainian-made fan image of Paula Cracker. So she got to make an insert, like a paper insert that went inside of that single. Kind of surreal tableau of an angel and a dead mermaid and a brain on a pitchfork or a trident sort of floating on an ice floe.
I mean, that's what I see when I think of El Mañana.
It's actually kind of cool, and I went on to Schneeflock's personal webpage, and she put up the 5 drawings that she submitted to Jamie, and he picked that one of those 5. Kind of cool. And of the 3 winners, I think she definitely had the best entry to that single for sure.
Schneeflock, come be on the show.
At the end, Noodle kind of says the reason she did this contest was to see if there was any creative energy left out there in the world, or if everybody had been zombified, Yeah. It would have been kind of funny if she'd had the balls, or if Cass would have the balls to be after the contest ended, I was able to conclude that the zombies plague had spread everywhere. There was no creative energy left.
Right, but I mean, motorcycle bitch, so clearly not.
Okay, discussion question, Trevor. I didn't give you any advance notice about this, and I purposely didn't think about it at all myself, okay?
Okay.
Let's you and me start our own ill-conceived listener talent contest right now. We're going to figure out the rules and the prize and everything. 1, 2, 3, go.
I think the prize would probably be getting on the show, right?
That makes sense. Let's do that. We'll do that. And then the one thing that we should borrow from Search for a Star is that we have the winners all contribute to make a thing together.
Right. Can we pre-record our reactions to it and kind of just drop them in as responses that don't really make that much sense?
Oh, that's a great idea.
In context.
Okay, let me do take one of mine. Okay.
Sure. All right, here's one of mine. I'm not sure if this is particularly in good taste.
Here's another one for both of us. Let's both get a take of this one, okay?
Okay.
This one's close, but it doesn't quite get there for me.
Fuck off.
I think we should let's have him make a tweet. Send an email to hallelujahmonkeyz@gmail.com. You can either make a picture that will be in the tweet, or 140 characters worth of text that'll be in the tweet, or I suppose maybe a link to a Vocaroo of you saying something if you want to have an audio entry, and then you'll all collaborate and you'll make a tweet and we'll post the tweet.
Yeah, that's a good scale to work with to start out. I agree.
Everybody loves it. We'll announce the winners in a week.
So next we've got the second arm of Gorillaz kind of Demon Days Zeitgeist. We got Search for Star, and then there's Reject False Icons.
Okay, summary. Noodle's final attempt to fight the global zombification process. Sell some stickers that say Reject False Icons on them.
I gotta say, I skimmed through like this entire section. Like,
I mean, you know, I vaguely remember that there was like a little section of a website where you could see graffiti.
yeah, I vaguely remember it happening when it was going on. I assume that would have like. I was very surprised when the second DVD came out and it didn't end up being called "Reject False Icons" because I was under the impression that was the celebrity takedown of the phase. You know, the
I believe
slogan,
we had
the motto.
at one point. I think we had a canonical thing that said "Phase 2 Reject False Icons."
Probably, yeah.
I don't remember what that would have been from.
I want to say how much I like these posters that we get here. These are some of my favorite pieces of Gorillaz art.
Oh yeah, the character posters, like the Phase 2 character posters. Those are great.
And if I was spacing out a little while you were giving that list of collaborators and the titles they gave them, I was trying to find these because I think they kind of do the same thing for at least half of the band members here. We get 2D referred to as the Switchback Daredevil and Murdoc as the Bass Slayer and Russell's XL Motown Prisoner. Noodle doesn't really have one. Hers is like Made in Japan or Fall of the Robots or something. Just really cool, but you know, cool phrases that they attach to the characters. And you get to see Murdoc's butt acne.
Gotta love the boils on Murdoc's ass. They deserve their own Gorillaz wiki page.
Mm-hmm.
I got a discussion question for you. Whenever I buy something that comes with a sticker, even if it's a sticker that I really like, a really nice one, I never know where to put it. What about you? Do you know what to do with stickers?
Well, I got that copy of Demon Days from Vinyl Me Please, and that came with a cool little set of stickers that's each band member's like the profile from the album cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I stuck them on the underside of a MIDI keyboard controller I have.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I guess I could sticker up a guitar, but like sometimes when I go to a show and somebody's guitar got stickers all over it, I kind of go,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
We just finished a chapter.
On to chapter 10. Feel Good Inc. It gets a whole chapter all to itself.
Well, they cover a lot of things.
Yeah.
Summary. After a long, ponderous dialogue about the meaning of Feel Good Tower and the Windmill Island, Gorillaz film a comeback music video, suffer through laborious post-production, exploit a chart loophole, and Feel Good Inc. charts at number 2 in the UK.
One of my favorite parts of this chapter is when they're talking about making the video. Noodle just straight up explains what a metaphor is in like a long paragraph. Sometimes, in order to express a feeling or an idea directly, it requires the nature of that expression to be made indirectly or through a certain symbolism.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of, masturbatory noodling going on here.
Yeah.
I do like the story about a couple of police officers pulling Murdoc over on the way to the shoot because he had half a gram of Pink Whiz in his pocket. Pink Whiz. Trevor, that is a pink Swiss Speed.
Gotcha. Murdoc asks 2D what the duck head symbol is in every one of their videos, and 2D says, I don't know, it's just a sticker that I like.
But I think it's the Peckerwood symbol. It's for white supremacists.
Yeah, right? Interesting that, I don't know, weird thing for Cass to mention here.
It is weird.
Is this him nudging Jamie like, hey, why do you always draw this white power thing?
Right, or maybe he asked Jamie what it was and that was Jamie's answer?
Maybe. Yeah, who knows? We know. 2D, alleged white supremacist.
Yeah, and Russell too, because he got the tattoo.
Right.
Russell, of course, noted white supremacist. Okay, I do like the little bit of on-set lore. So a bunch of kids broke onto the set and then started messing around on Windmill Island, and then it got loose and floated down the Thames. And Murdoc says one of the kids ended up in traction. He had held on for 3 hours, but let go eventually and fell 200 feet. His parents tried to sue us. Could you believe it? Sue us! So we sent a couple of Gorillaz stagehands around to straighten things out.
Right.
Everything's fine now. I like the idea of Gorillaz having the parents of a crippled boy beaten.
And then after that, we go into pretty much a word-by-word recreation of the band's commentary on the Feel Good Inc. video, which is from, I think that showed up on, Slow Boat to Hades?
Yeah, Slow Boat to Hades DVD episode, we talked about that.
Again, is Cass copy-pasting, or is this just a case of putting the same monkey down at the same typewriter?
It's a good question. There is a little Akon disc. They call Akon a vanishing act, which is kind of funny. Okay, discussion question. What's more likely at this point? Damon Albarn making another song that surpasses Feel Good Inc. in chart and commercial success, or a second Tank Girl movie getting made?
For some reason, I can't imagine Jamie Hewlett doing anything other than Gorillaz ever again. What has he done besides Gorillaz in the last, 10 years?
I don't know. Didn't he go back to Tank Girl?
I don't know. He
I
made
think
some.
he did another Run a Tank Girl.
Didn't he make some like vibrators or something?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
That does sound familiar.
yeah. So Damon might still have one more in him. Who knows?
Maybe he's got one more, generation-defining hit left in his brain. We'll see. We'll see.
Apparently, we got the powers pretty good.
Trevor, subheading, Tales of the Unexpected, the iPod advert. Summary. Gorillaz make a second deal with the devil, and an iconic iPod commercial helps secure Feel Good Inc. chart success in America.
This was the most boring part of the book for me.
It sure is.
Like, oh my god. I forgot that this even happened, honestly.
I sent it to you. I remember the music video well. I remember
that
well.
style of music videos. I don't remember being particularly blown away by the Gorillaz one.
No, the Gorillaz one, they're on roller skates.
Yeah, I remember the Coldplay one for Viva La Vida being really good.
Okay, discussion question. Noodle said she allowed Apple to use Feel Good Inc. because the iPod had a positive effect on the world of music. What sanctimonious reason would Noodle give to justify letting her face appear on a can of Red Bull?
Well, in the current state of the world, it's so easy to let all the horrible stuff that's going on kind of get you down and leave you a lethargic mess. So Red Bull is really what is giving us the energy to kind of push on through such trying times.
It's revolution fuel.
Yeah. Hell Red Bull.
Hell Red Bull has Gorillaz. Subheading, Demon Days release. Summary, Demon Days is released and the band babbles about the album and what it's like to release a second album. Okay, we got to talk about Great Big Chubby Round Russell.
We got to talk about Great Big Chubby Russell because this has been driving me crazy for 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure the night before I thought we were originally going to record this episode, I messaged you on Facebook or something going okay, I don't want to spoil conversation for the podcast, but I really need to ask you about this. Have you noticed on page 224 of Rise of the Ogre, instead of referring to him just as Russell and the little character name preceding the quote, Cass calls him Great Big Chubby Round Russell.
And I think in order to not spoil this conversation, we both just kind of went, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, I went through the book and looked, I'm pretty sure this is the only time he does something like this.
The only other things that are kind of like this is when he puts a parenthetical after their name, like Murdoc reflectively or whatever.
Yeah, which is always bad, and thankfully only happens a couple times.
Yeah, but this is so weird. It's not even
weird.
It's not even that it's offensive. It's just confusing and inscrutable. Yeah. It's not set up at all. They're not making a fat joke about Russell, of which there are plenty in this book. Of which there are certainly plenty. There are other lines that could have been where you could have used this name for Russell, and it would have made sense in the grammar of the joke that was happening. But this is just Russell straightly talking about what it's like to put out Demon Days.
Yeah. Here's the lead-in.
Why?
Maybe, had the band defied the critics and proved the point in true style, Gorillaz were a whole new valid creative force that could redefine and re-justify their existence with every new release. And then Great Big Chubby Round Russell comes into the quote. Is this Cass going I wonder if anybody's actually reading this.
Is it that? Is it Cass saying, I'm bored? Is it something left over from copy editing? Was there a fat joke here that got deleted and they didn't fix the name? There are certainly, a handful of typos in this book. I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, Trevor. It's also been bothering me.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that I'm offended. It's not that I'm offended.
Of course. It's just weird. It's weird.
Cheap fat jokes in this book and whatever. Who cares? But why?
I can't wait to ask Cass when we eventually get him on the show.
Cass does manage to write an extended section of Noodle, pontificating about the significance of the title Demon Days without undercutting it with any Murdoc eye rolling. So kudos to Cass for
thank fucking God, yeah, for once.
Doubling down on letting a band member say a thing without Murdoc making fun of the thing they're saying.
Discussion question, and I'm not even totally sure what I mean by this. Which character do you think Cass is best at writing?
Best at writing? That's a really good question. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I think that he uses 2D in the most fun ways. He uses 2D to not talk about what's going on in the book and do little asides and non sequiturs because 2D doesn't understand what's going on. So it always feels like a breath of fresh air when 2D chimes in, so I'm going to say 2D. But I know Cass's answer would be Murdoc. He clearly feels like a kinship with Murdoc.
Yeah. His use of 2D is so sparing, though, that it really does make you appreciate every line that gets out there.
Yeah, and he does have a lot of great ones in this book. Here's my discussion question. Cass Riley observes that a Gorillaz album naturally comes with another flurry of online crap, interactive goods, enhanced CDs, mobile applications, grommets, gadgets, and holographic cup holders. What do you imagine would happen, Trevor, if you stuck the enhanced CD-ROM of Humans into your Windows XP computer tower? Like, what could they put on an enhanced edition of Humans?
Well, what's big right now? VR, right?
VR is huge. Yeah, we got that 360 thing.
I think you would probably put it in your computer, and you would put on a little, makeshift VR headset that the deluxe edition would come with, and you'd be able to see the album cover, and all the characters would just kind of be popping out of it, and it would look even more horrible and grotesque than it does in, 2D.
For sure that. And then let's say an official visual for, The Apprentice, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that?
Yeah, Carnival.
Sure. Who's not clamoring for some official Carnival visuals? So that in Demon Days album reviews, summary, critics say nice stuff about Demon Days.
Although this is no more thrilling to read than all the negative ones from
oh my god, that's exactly what I wrote. I said this is not any more enjoyable to read than the nitpicking of negative for us from the first half.
You know the face Murdoc is making in that picture where he's scratching his butt through his underwear?
Yeah.
That's me reading these reviews.
Maybe we can liven this part of the show up with a discussion question. Though.
Go ahead.
Give me a pithy quote from a fake Demon Days review. I'll give you mine as an example.
Okay.
No blur here. These tunes are in focus. Obviously, tunes, I spelled it one way like a song, and one way like cartoons.
You shared that with me before we recorded, so I kind of did something a little similar. One can only surmise that the Demon Days in question refers to the week it must have taken the band to get a usable vocal take out of one-time Happy Mondays frontman Sean Ryder.
Solid.
Yeah.
We should totally be mid-aughts, sarcastic, quippy music journalists. Okay, subheading. It's Dare, Shaun of the Dead, The Night Rider. Summary. The Gorillaz and Shaun Ryder work on the music video for Dare.
I love the little Shaun of the Dead shout out.
I did laugh out loud, though, when Murdoc did a Charlie Brown adult impression, because he was, rolling his eyes at the Passion Picture guy, who was, talking about CG and blue screens. He just started going, wah, 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 thrilling.
Help, one of the geeks has escaped. Geek on the loose. Get a net.
I actually am more charmed when Murdoc is making fun of, real-life Gorillaz collaborators.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Than when he's making fun of the band.
You really need to stop talking to Dan Nakamura. I really like these animatics, or the storyboards for Dare as well.
The storyboards of the Dare video are really crisp and cool-looking. Okay, I got a discussion question for you. Trevor, if you had to have the towering, garish head of a C-list or lower celebrity in your bedroom, who would it be and why?
Andy Warhol.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Because I think I'd come in and he would just go oh, hi, how's it going? Hello, I'm Andy Warhol. Interesting.
He's just got to give you gentle, positive reinforcement.
Yeah, just come. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the depiction of him in Oliver Stone's The Doors.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I've always had this concept kicking around in my head of this figure called Lou Reedbot.
Oh no! Is this new Hallelujah Monkeyz war?
Yeah, I think so. Because Jamie actually drew him like this. Drew Lou Reed as some kind of Frankenstein's monster with bolts coming out of his neck and eating wires like some ramen noodles. I think just this Lou Reedbot character would open up a Bender-esque chest compartment, and Andy Warhol's head would just be floating in there, and
Krang from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The Teenage Mutant. Yeah, exactly right. He'd just open it up, and Andy Warhol would go, "Oh, that's nice, interesting." Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and then he would just put that's Lou Reedbot.
I guess if I had to pick a C-list or lower celebrity head to have in my bedroom, I would pick Ray Parker Jr. Just so he might chime in with the occasional
and he'd be able to tell you if there were any ghosts around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And who to call if there was a ghost or two.
Right. It's good information to have on hand.
We finished the chapter, Trevor. We finished the chapter.
Right, on to the Demon Detour.
Okay, subheading, The Slow Boat to Hades. Summary. Gorillaz embark on a virtual tour of sorts. Jimmy Manson is hired as Gorillaz' U.S. A&R man. Russell discovered the new hobby for the band to stop everywhere they go by 2 helicopters and a mysterious sniper.
So The book is kind of starting to take on a little bit more of a narrative push here, I think.
Yeah, they're kind of like very, very archly winking every time they bring up Wee Jimmy Manson and the helicopters. And
What do you think of this Wee Jimmy Manson character?
I think it's clunky. I think all the stuff is a little bit
really
clunky.
Like, it's kind of just Charlie Manson, right? My thing is, why not make a new character?
That's a good point. There's so many colorful ones already in this book. You could have had
I mean, we even get a drawing of him, and he looks exactly like Charles Manson.
Like, why wouldn't you just use Dr. Wurzel?
Exactly. Why not use Dr. Wurzel? Or just, I don't know. This character's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He seems like they thought of him very quickly.
We do meet a couple of new characters in this chapter. We meet Grassy Knoll,
right?
Who's a stone stooge and a possible patsy.
Yeah.
For the true parties who are looking to take down Gorillaz. I do like the dumb pun of Grassy Knoll as the patsy gunman.
Of course.
And we also meet the blonde Banshee, who's a jilted ex-lover of Murdoc's and possible mother to his illegitimate child.
And the black-skinned demon boy shows up to fuck with them again.
Let's jump out of lore for a second and talk a little bit about the demon detour, Trevor.
Yeah, this is kind of like a tour that time forgot.
Yeah, so in the book they play it very straight-faced. In reality, what it was a pre-recorded live session and a pre-recorded mini band interview.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just play it on specific radio stations, like on specific days. So it was like you were having a virtual tour. They'd do a little 8-song set that was pre-recorded. This is where the like high-fidelity recording of the De La Soul / Booty Brown version of Clint Eastwood comes from.
Which is very good. In fact, all of the performances from the Demon Detour sessions are really, really good. Yeah,
I totally recommend tracking down the Demon Detour, and I hadn't listened to it in its entirety for a while, and I still haven't, so I'm looking forward to going back to that with you in a future season of the show to revisit this stuff.
Yeah, Gorillaz is a great live in studio band.
This is where we learned about Russell's love of taxidermy?
Yeah.
That was a phase 2 thing that I always kind of liked, because I always felt like Russell was underserviced, and I liked seeing him with a consistent thing that he was doing that phase, you know?
Yeah, it was nice to get a little more, just like flesh out that character.
And, he makes kind of like terrible Frankenstein beasts out of different animals and car parts. Cass Brown makes the pun "pimp my rhino" in regards to it.
Yeah.
Oh, also in this chapter, Cass calls Murdoc's dad Jacob, and his name is Sebastian. So
interesting.
Whoops.
Yeah,
and then we get this whole thing about how Murdoc went to see Jimmy Manson at the record company offices and said they came to an agreement, and then the assassination attempts stopped. So, we're just telegraphing some future plot things here. Okay, wait a minute. Peek behind the scenes, Trevor.
All right.
We just had like a brief moment of technical difficulty, so we had to stop recording for a second. In that time, we saw that there was a third Strobe Light preview.
And Murdoc's in this one. We get an actual, we get an actual moving character.
Yes, and knowing that this stems from motion capture, I love the facial animation that they're doing.
It looks really good. Like, this might be the best Murdoc has looked off face so far.
I really like it. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is the strobe light effect that's in all of these previews, because it seems like that might be somewhat headache-inducing.
I'm hoping this is just an Instagram thing.
It could just be for Instagram, or maybe it's just for specific parts of the video, but either way, not very chill to epileptic Gorillaz fans.
Absolutely not. I would watch, if this is what it looks like, I'm going to watch it once and probably never again.
Yeah, that would be a bummer.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Put faith in Jamie Hewlett. Let's get back into it, though. I got a discussion question for you. Gorillaz announced a new virtual tour, The Humans Holiday, okay? And Hallelujah Monkeyz is to be a date on the virtual tour. They're going to play an 8-song in-studio set on our show, and we get to choose the 8 songs. So let's each pick 4. We'll go like round-robin style.
Okay.
And that'll be the set list that they play on Hallelujah Monkeyz.
Can I trade in 3 of mine and just tack it on to the first one so it's a very, very long extended performance of Sex Murder Party?
Okay, yeah. So it's instead going to be a 5-song set.
Okay, yeah.
With a very long Sex Murder Party, and then I guess I get to pick the other 4 because you've traded your set.
No,
right?
I'll aim for it. Is it just humans, or can we go anywhere?
No, we can go anywhere.
All right, so definitely Sex Murder Party.
Sex Murder Party.
Sex Murder Party. Let's trade off.
I pick Number 2 with a bullet. Every planet we reach is dead.
All right, I'm gonna go Charger.
I'm gonna say Spitting Out the Demons.
Oh, good one. I'm gonna have to pull for a D side too now. I think it would be really cool to see Highway Under Construction.
Oh, that'd be such a cool pull, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Slow Country. Let's get a
Of course.
Slow
I'm glad
Country.
you said it because now I don't have to. So I'm gonna go with Last Living Souls, just because I love the way Damon always changes up the lyrics a little bit.
And it's been great this phase. It's been really good this phase.
It's been good. He hams it up a little too much for my taste, but I feel like just being in a studio would kind of dial that back.
Oh, I've loved the kind of like rock star take on it this phase. I don't know. That's been working for me.
Yeah.
And then my number 4, Trevor, a featuring Benjamin Clementine version of Some Kind of Nature.
Fun. That's fun.
Get him in there.
And I think I would have to throw in, since we're mixing things up now, how about Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head with Ben Mendelsohn?
Well, that would be an encore because that's 9 songs. But I say let's get rid of any of those except maybe Sex Murder Party.
Right, that one has to stay. That one has to stay. Demon's Holiday.
Human's Holiday coming soon to Hallelujah Monkeyz in our dreams. Okay, subheading, Trevor. Dirty Harry, the dust up in the desert. Summary. After some politically minded retooling, Gorillaz filmed on location in Namibia, which was about as headachy as you might imagine it was. Murdoc gets 5 stars instantly in Grand Theft Auto by stealing an army convoy and conspires with Jamie Hewlett about something or other. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoyed this chapter, probably more than the other music video-centered chapters.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a really good blend of like behind-the-scenes stuff and lore stuff to me.
I like how Russell describes Dirty Harry as an anti-war song or a pro-peace track, depending on how you look at it.
Right, semantics.
Yeah.
And then we meet a lore character, the Brangelina, a 2-headed, beer-swilling Namibian sex beast.
Oh yeah, what the fuck was this?
I think they were taking a crack at Brad and Angelina going to Africa to adopt children a lot.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And suggesting that they were in the next hotel room over, like, drinking and fucking loudly.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I also like the heading here. The heading of this chapter is, I love it when my quotes are blown up really big, Murdoc Nichols.
Of course, yeah. Just Cass having fun now.
Cass is having some good time. This feels like it had happened early on in a writing session, rather than late in a writing session to me.
I actually think this might be a later one just because here he like no longer kind of like gives much of a fuck and he's just saying like, how can I make this fun for me?
Yeah, for example, by saying that when 2D does his hand bird thing, that he's referencing one of his favorite movies, Napoleon Dynamite. Can you imagine, like, Jamie Hewlett must have been so angry about that.
I love also in this chapter we get a good couple shots at other bands, not even shots, just references to them in funny ways. Like, we get the lantern-jawed rapper 50 Cent. There's Captain James Blunt, which is a great throwback to Murdoc saying, you know he's in the army, he can kill a tune with his bare hands.
He can kill a tune with his bare hands. I love it.
And then, of course, a new band called Oasis.
A new band called Oasis. Okay, quickly before we get to their release, which all that stuff is from, I guess I could do a discussion question.
Yeah.
The Dirty Harry kids are now all in their early 20s, so do you think that we could get one of them on the show, or have all of them entered their Gorillaz aren't cool anymore phase?
Good question. How long before one of them starts a podcast, right?
Right? Oh, that'd be some stiff competition.
I'd love to know what it was really like on the set of that shoot, though.
Me too. Or at any of the Demon Days live performances, or in studio. I'd like to hear from any of those kids.
Some of them are still working with the band for the live dates now, right? And they look pretty good. Like
they look good.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of that is stage makeup.
The subheading, Dare released. Summary, in spite of stiff competition, as you mentioned, from a new band called Oasis. Dare hits number 1 in the UK, and Murdoc celebrates by having one of his friends beaten at random. I do love that. This is a slight chapter, but I love how Murdoc celebrates his victory by picking somebody out of the Rolodex and having them beaten for his amusement.
I mean, that's what I do.
Not a lot else to say about this chapter, Trevor, except for a discussion question. Dare only got to number 87 on the US Hot 100 as opposed to its UK number 1. So why don't Americans give a shit about soccer or Boxing Day or dance music or We Got the Power or any of those things that our British counterparts seem to love. What's fundamentally different about the outlook that makes us not like that shit?
Well, I think a big part of it comes from that whole divide when it comes to language. Like, we don't call places you go to dance discos, we call them clubs. And
Yes.
we don't call soccer football, we call it soccer.
That's a good point. And because we call it clubs, you associate it with a different kind of music than you would,
Of
disco-y
course.
dance music.
Yeah.
That's very insightful, Trevor. Subheading Manchester International Festival Summary. To avoid an awkward double booking, Gorillaz enlist Damon Albarn to spearhead one of the most elaborate tribute band performances in history in a series of triumphant and transcendent concerts that to this day still feel like kind of a culmination of the whole Gorillaz project to me.
This was a great moment for the band.
Yeah, for sure, and it's given it a loving retelling in this book.
Cass even starts the section out by saying, "This is a good one, check this out."
And at one point, he gets to talk about himself. Cass Brown, he calls himself a mouthy genius whose name frequently eludes me. So like that.
That's really good. That's very Lemony Snicket.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Let me say this about Cass Brown. For all of our kvetching about little quirks and stuff, for a somewhat amateur writer to come in with a project of this scope, he did a really fine job, in my opinion. I think
he wrote
Cass
the
Brown,
Gorillaz Bible.
Yes, exactly. Not a simple undertaking.
It's a Herculean task.
For sure. And as homeworky at times as it has been for us to report on, I can only imagine what it was like going back through all of this shit to try to figure out what did Murdoc do on that night that they didn't win a Brit Award.
But, like, the Manchester shows, oh my gosh, like, I could wax about these forever. Like, I consider myself very, very, very lucky to have seen an Apollo show. And I gotta say, this is the moment for me in the Gorillaz canon, I think. Like, those shows, the flashing light up screens, everybody in silhouettes, a relatively intimate venue, just incredible. I feel like I'll never get to experience something like that ever again. And I love the new Gorillaz shows, but they're just, man, this was it.
Yeah, at the time, I remember feeling very outside looking in and being disappointed that there wasn't a traditional tour, and it certainly would have been awesome if there was a traditional tour, but what we have is so nicely documented with the Demon Days live concert film that it does kind of feel more egalitarian than it did at the time in terms of, like, letting you, Joe fan, in on this kind of magical experience,
Right. And just the way they played the album straight through, it made it really seem much more like a performance of a piece rather than a traditional concert.
Yeah, I totally agree, and we've mentioned it before, but the encore is kind of so thoughtfully and perfectly selected. With Hong Kong being kind of the song that's most directly about that train ride that inspired the album, so kind of like a theme piece to cap the album off, and then such a lovely tribute to Ibrahim Ferrer with that live version of Latin Simone.
And it would have been so easy for them to, like, slot Clint Eastwood in there just to have that big finale, but I think it really shows a lot of restraint and dedication to the mood of this part of the project, that they didn't do that. They didn't play one of their biggest hits. They just wanted to play Demon Days and this tribute to, one of the people that Damon obviously felt very lucky to be able to work with.
I do have a discussion question for you, though, Trevor. Cass really missed an opportunity, in my opinion, to give us an in-universe reason why MF Doom couldn't make it to these shows. So I want you to pick, like, a minor Gorillaz antagonist from this book so far who you imagine would have, like, kidnapped MF Doom on his way to this show.
You can't kidnap MF Doom. You think that would work? Anybody who wants to mess with MF Doom, they've got to go through, like, an army of Doom bots first. Oh,
that's a good point. I was thinking, like, maybe Wurzel stole his mask?
Possibly. Why? Here's the question. Why didn't MF Doom just send one of his imposters to these shows? That's my discussion question. Would that be better or worse than him just showing up on a screen?
There's, like, a whole subset of Doom historian who go through every live image of an MF Doom appearance like it's a frame from the Zapruder film.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if it was really MF Doom or one of his, like, stand-ins.
That's been a running joke for me. Whenever I see somebody talking about MF Doom, I'll just comment, like, that's not Doom.
Right. Subheading, Trevor. The EMAs live from Libsyn. Summary. While Passion Pictures works on a groundbreaking performance that will blend real-life musicians with their animated counterparts, Murdoc struggles to explain the Pepper's Ghost illusion, and Borat makes a cameo.
Okay. The Pepper's Ghost thing, I feel like I read this twice. I have no idea why they're talking about it. Pepper's Ghost is what they use to project the holograms.
Yes, it's a classic illusion. The simplest version of it involves smoke and mirrors and light. You can also use a thin film, which is, I think, what they used on both of these appearances.
And so, canonically, why aren't the Gorillaz holograms here?
Because they blend that a lot, especially in the live performance stuff when Passion Pictures comes to talk about their thing. Like, they want to have their cake and eat it, too, between lore and behind-the-scenes nonsense. And, I mean, Murdoc does, consistently refer to himself as a cartoon throughout this book.
I guess. It's just... This is the part where I go cross-eyed.
Yeah, I get it. It does feel like a slight step over that line to me, too.
Do you remember the part in the book, though? Like, where do they say why they're using this technology instead of just performing at the EMAs like a regular band?
No, they don't. They just immediately launch into Passion Pictures with planning an ambitious new thing.
Weird. I do really like Murdoc's sketches of the Pepper's Ghost thing. Do you think that's a holdover from when they were actually working this project out? Do you think this is an actual little Jamie sketch we're looking at?
Maybe it could be. I do love Murdoc trying and failing to explain that thing. Yeah. Little doodle. It's very funny. Okay, I got a great discussion question for you, Trevor. Would you support a world in the near future in which gorillas are released into the wild as autonomous artificial intelligence beings who can be responsible for their own creative output as a band without any input from Damon or Jamie?
Yes, because I would really love to see what the relationship with Damon and Jamie would look like.
Oh, right. What would happen when they're no longer in charge of these, and these guys are just running around doing their own thing? My only fear is, like, if they have corporeal forms, like, I'm a little bit scared to be living in a world where Murdoc Nichols is running free.
Yeah. Damon Albarn keeps coming up in this book, and it really is a shame because he's billed as, like, being a long-standing friend of Gorillaz, and he's always helping them out. How did Murdoc repay him? By stealing his demos and making an album.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right?
Yeah.
But maybe if they were made sentient beings, like, Murdoc would try to kill Jamie Hewlett for giving him an abusive childhood? Like, he would blame him? Or, anyway.
Who knows, man?
The mind reels. Subheading. Gorillaz MTV Cribs. Summary. Cass Brown does his best to convert the sentence, MTV did an episode of Cribs about Murdoc and Con Studios, into a few pages worth of content, because that is his solemn task.
Sorry, dude, I just watched this. I'm not going to read it.
And he doesn't even really recap it.
No.
Like, he doesn't even feel the need to really do that.
He does give a little shout out to that picture of Murdoc cutting an onion.
He does. I do appreciate that. And I also like, Murdoc at one point says, it's gone beyond a joke now. I can say anything I want and people just clap, which made me think of Murdoc as being kind of a proto-Trumpian figure.
Totally. Oh my God. Why wasn't that the Phase 4 arc? Murdoc running for Prime Minister?
Oh, that would have been great.
Oh my gosh.
Missed opportunity.
Seriously.
Discussion question. Legit, in Phase 4, where do gorillas live?
The Spirit, not the Spirit House. I don't know.
Because it could be the Spirit House, or it could be whatever that weird building that the app is in.
Right. They got evicted from the Do You Thing video, although I'm not sure if that's even canon anymore.
Is that even canon anymore? And then maybe there's some talk in the book of stories about something else. I'm very confused.
I mean, I assume it's the space we get to look into using the app. That's got to be it. I don't know what that space is, though.
Weirdly, there's a lobby in that app that's with a sign that says Con Studio. So what's going on there?
Maybe they're back. Maybe they're back.
Yeah, but Con Studios, well, we'll get to it. But
yeah, we'll
Con
get to
Studios is like not a thing
right
anymore.
Who knows?
I don't know. Confused.
The new Kong Studios.
Subheading. Murdoc gives the Queen's speech. Summary. Murdoc uses his audience of over 100 million viewers to slag off James Blunt, and Cass Brown indulges in that great New Year's tradition of picking through yet more old Gorillaz press. Just like, why is there so much of that in this book, Trevor? Like, I get there's year-end lists. I get that there were year-end lists and that some of them had Demon Days on it. I get it.
Think they were running out of material by this point?
I don't know, but Cass seems like he's willing to write endlessly about that kind of stuff to me.
I think he's just appreciative of having things to write about.
Maybe
James Blunt thing, what do you make of that? They really, they refer to him as the old whipping boy. Like, Gorillaz feels like a band that takes a lot of shots at other celebrities for being run by a dude who Oasis once wished on national TV would get AIDS and die.
You have so perfectly teed up my discussion point.
Okay.
Now that James Blunt is long forgotten, who do you imagine would be Murdoc's musical punching bag in 2017?
It's got to be Ed Sheeran, right?
Well, I was thinking Ed Sheeran, was number one on the literal list that I made.
Yeah.
And then, number two, could you imagine Murdoc jumping on the Drake hate bandwagon?
Oh, God, that would be so fun. Oh, my gosh.
Being the sort of sensitive, lovelorn rapper, does that collect Murdoc's ire?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think either of those boys could deal with a few pot shots from Murdoc in Phase 4.
Please.
Yeah, I don't know, though. I don't know. Why James Blunt? I mean, I remember that time. I remember when James Blunt was like everything that was wrong with pop music or whatever in that era.
He had one song, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. It was a big hit. It was a big hit.
Yeah.
But then it was gone. It's something about effeminate men.
I guess.
The way that, potentially out of control partying young women pop stars, are dealt with in a very sinister way by our culture, it seems like effeminate male pop stars get the same treatment.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, James Blunt.
Chapter 12, The Light at the End of the Tunnel.
Which is a pretty good title for the last chapter of this Gorillaz book. Yeah,
totally summarized my feelings at this time, didn't it? Subheading, Grab a Grammy. Summary, Gorillaz do a live mashup with Madonna, go to a party at Dennis Hopper's, win a Grammy, and go to an after party at Madonna's house. Kara Spellering's back. Come on the show, Kara. We'd like to talk to you.
Please. A lot of Dennis Hopper stuff here.
Yeah, I like Murdoc's kind of oddly self-aware line of, it was very generous of Dennis to allow me and my scumbag mates into his house.
They must have really enjoyed working with him.
Yeah, for sure. And you get the sense that especially Cass and Jamie were very excited about that.
Yeah.
Murdoc also says fuck Jughead in this
right.
in this chapter.
Right. That shot of Dennis Hopper's party we got is really interesting as well. Just some kind of purple Muppet going off of a diving board into an empty pool.
What's going on there? What a weird image. This is actually, I think this chapter has one of Cass Brown's finest moments, in my opinion, where he does this fun kind of fourth wall breaking topic juggling at the end of the chapter, where Murdoc is like, "What's this about the Brits?" And then Cass is like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mention it. You're due on stage for the Brits on the next page."
Right. Yeah, that is pretty good.
I like that. That was fun. Discussion question: fuck, marry, kill. The Grammys, the Oscars, and the Emmys.
Emmys would be kill.
Right.
Grammys would be fuck.
Right.
Oscars would be marry.
Ooh, you're such a star fucker. Okay. So many.
Well, I feel like out of the three, the Oscars kind of have the most actual clout.
And I think the Emmys are maybe slightly more legitimate than the Grammys, but they're also way boringer.
Right, yeah. At least the Grammys are usually a shit show.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, subheading, Brit Award. Summary. Passion Pictures unveils another elaborate live visual, this time on screens for Dirty Harry, and Murdoc swings some shit on the Kaiser Chiefs because Gorillaz failed to win any Brit Awards yet again.
Shoot the Runner. Wait, no, that was Kaiser Chiefs did Ruby, right? Shoot the Runner was Kasabian. Bring some Ruby up in the mix. I love that one.
Okay, let's bring it up. Here it is.
Ruby, 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 Ruby.
Remember that hot hit? No, you don't. You're all 15.
That was a good one. The days of Franz Ferdinand.
But no, seriously, the money was really flowing back then, wasn't it? They were we were deep into this phase, and they were making these elaborate new live visuals with fully animated band members and things like that.
Can you imagine Phase 4 Gorillaz being asked to perform at an award show?
No, I can't.
What would that even look like? Would it be the live band?
Yeah, it would be. It would probably be the live band. In a year, it might be holograms. Fingers crossed.
Right. Yeah.
I have a discussion question for you.
Hit me with it.
You, Trevor Ickrath, die suddenly without any true mortal sin on your soul, but without having repented. So you have to trudge through purgatory, which is going to manifest to you in the form of a 50,000-page grimoire of nothing but chapter after chapter detailing Gorillaz unveiling the technically impressive new live performance of the Brit Award and then failing to take home a Brit Award.
Didn't I already do that? Wasn't because this section seemed like it.
How many of those chapters, Trevor, can you make it through before you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior in the hope that it will shorten your sentence?
I'm pretty resilient, I think. but I would say 3 tops.
Probably, yeah. One more, and that'd be it.
How far do you think we get into the process by chapter 3?
Do I have to write discussion questions for all of them? Because that's my real nightmare.
Yeah. So we're getting onto the we're entering endgame territory here.
Yeah, home stretch, guys. Look alive. Subheading, the setup. Summary, Jimmy Manson is revealed as the man behind the botched assassination attempt on the Detour, but Murdoc redirects his plans towards his own plan to kill the other 3 Gorillaz on the set of their next music video, an act of revenge for Jimmy, who was turned away from auditioning to be their guitarist back in phase 1, and an opportunity for Murdoc to launch his solo career.
I hate this.
It's not great.
I hate this, and like pretty much from here on, Rise of the Ogre is bad to me. Like, sorry, I don't like the book anymore.
It has like one redeeming factor, which we'll get into in the next chapter.
Yeah, this is like this is every phase of Gorillaz for me so far too, because they set up everything. The first 2/3 of the phase are great. Then they try to do a little more, and they land on their face. The
only exception to the rule would be weird mid-phase stuff like 911 and Do Your Thing, which I think is both pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so the text is not 100% clear about this, but I think it's heavily intimated that Jimmy Manson has Alfred C. Klinker, Paolo Scanbaccio, Paula Cracker, Dr. Wardville, Grassy Knoll, the Doppelgangers, and the Blonde Banshee all killed. I think that's what they're saying.
Something like that, yeah. He gets them taken care of.
So they're gone. Let's do
all the Gorillaz' peripheral antagonists.
Yeah, all knocked off. Discussion question, Trevor. If Damon Albarn dies tragically, do you think we'll at least get Seaside out of it?
That's never coming. You gotta let go of that one, man.
You don't think they would do it as a legacy thing because everybody's sad that Damon's dead? That's the only way I could imagine it coming.
No. I mean, come on. They didn't issue Demon Days. They didn't reissue Demon Days for its 10th year anniversary. You really think they're going to go digging through like Damon's trash and finding Seasides?
Oh, I suppose not.
It's not going to happen. It's
Damon
not going to happen.
We live to see another day. Subheading, El Mañana, El Extremo. Summary. A Gorillaz video goes into production under false pretenses. Jimmy Manson stows away in the windmill with loaded firearms. An epic action sequence is shot. And when the dust clears, Noodle is missing.
And the mood here is not fun anymore.
No.
Like, it doesn't have that kind of comic, like, Python-esque kind of mood to it anymore. It's just, suspenseful.
But it doesn't have the other misstepping tone of the actual Mañana video, which is, like, austere and sad.
Right.
So it feels more Gorillaz-y to me than the actual music video. So I guess the only positive thing I can say about this is that thinking about this stuff happening on the set of the El Mañana music video slightly improves the El Mañana music video for me because I don't like it so much.
Maybe.
This whole end section I feel like pretty mad about. Pretty mad. Here's a discussion question though. Would you be opposed to Jamie ending the Gorillaz project permanently by having the band die in a video if it was handled with more of like a Gorillaz appropriate tone?
It's not my ideal ending for the project now.
I feel like it might be if it was handled in like a sickly funny way, you know?
Here's something I would have been okay with. I would have been okay with El Mañana killing off Noodle and Android Noodle being a legit character.
Right, like they're just a robot in the band now forever. That would have been maybe ballsier.
I think that would have been a pretty ballsy move.
But then we have a gear shift. The book isn't all bad, because there's another chapter, or another subheading here. New York Apollo Show, summary. After a slightly weird geared shift in mood, Murdoc gets naked for Motorola and goes toe-to-toe with an ancient and terrible electrical system just so that he can play a special show for his most important fan, Baby Trevor Ickra. Hi, Baby Trevor, it's me, your friend from the forum. I'm older and fatter now. I hope you have fun at Demon Days Live. Also, The Kid with Guns and El Mañana Double A side comes out in stores.
I was there, yeah.
You were there. You were there.
Yeah, just like James Murphy himself, I was there.
I actually had totally forgotten, Trevor, that the live visuals didn't work on the first Apollo show.
I forgot, too. That was the show I tried to get tickets for, but I couldn't. Had to go the night after.
Dodged a bullet.
I got the full Gorillaz experience. I can't imagine how much that must have sucked.
Oh my gosh. At the time, I remember it being a huge controversy.
Yeah, that sucked. Like, sorry, guys. That really must have sucked.
But I mean, as they point out, the New York Apollo is an old building with a very old system. Maybe you should have shown up a week early?
Maybe. Something like that. Possibly. It might have helped. I love that shot of them in front of the Apollo as well.
And I love the little interviews with the collaborators talking about what the Gorillaz project meant to them. This is a great chapter.
Yeah, this is a nice one to have so far at the back. Like, it's just a lot of outpouring of love in this middle of kind of like this really other not so much fun stuff going on.
Yeah, this kind of briar patch of lore chess piece maneuvering.
But here it feels like Cass is kind of wrapping up the musical side of the project and putting a bow on it.
Yeah, this is almost like the real ending of the book, sort of.
Yeah.
Discussion question. I'd like you to reach back into your memory and give me just like one highlight from your Apollo Demon Days live experience.
When they were performing White Light and everyone was going nuts, if you looked up to the balcony, you saw that whoever was working the puppets was rocking out with them.
Oh, that's badass. That's great.
Yeah, that was fun. That was very cute.
Okay, Trevor, we're done. Save for this last subsection, the aftermath.
Right.
Summary. In a double cross, Murdoc sets Jimmy Manson up to die in the windmill while Noodle parachutes to safety to go to the Maldives for R&R. Meanwhile, Con Studios begins to disintegrate and the band scatters like dust in the wind. It kind of drags on, like Murdoc sort of very matter-of-factly explains the big twist.
Yeah.
Robs it of whatever impact it was supposed to have, I guess.
I really do like when they're talking about Jimmy Manson getting stuck in the windmill. Murdoc sees him banging on the window screaming, "It's locked," and then Cass writes, Murdoc nodded enthusiastically and this time gave Jimmy the full Macca, a complete double thumbs up McCartney salute. He slowly mouthed the words, "I know." I really like that. That's really funny. Good.
And also, now that we know that El Mañana does contain real footage of human death in it, you could theoretically include it in the Faces of Death compilation on YouTube.
Yeah, snuff films.
Snuff films.
I'm very not impressed by the confrontational tone Cass takes on here. First things first, Nichols. What have you done with Noodle?
Yeah, I don't know. Here's what I like. I like that Murdoc Nichols exits this book whistling the bass line from Feel Good Inc. Like that's
a very nice touch.
That's it's perfectly gauche for Murdoc Nichols to do something like that.
Like, let's talk about Noodle here. She survived the whole El Mañana thing, right?
Yes.
And she went on to do what?
Hang out in the Maldives?
Is that still canon?
I don't know, and I don't think so. I think we'll know very quickly when we get to Murdoc's Pirate Radio about that.
I hope so, because I really cannot remember. I feel like there are 3 different stories about what happened to Noodle here.
Yeah, it's like Genesis, 2 creation stories versus Phase 2, 3 endings.
And Murdoc is a very unreliable narrator.
And so is Cass Brown at times. They intentionally leave a loose end about the helicopters. Who was piloting the helicopters, what was up with the helicopters. And then we kind of tease on that with like a broken radio transmission from Noodle, who's like trying to warn the band that some figure knows where they are and is coming for them.
Mm-hmm.
I distinctly remember that not paying off into anything.
I mean, maybe the Boogeyman? Something? The Pirates?
I don't know.
I really don't know. And that's Rise of the Ogre.
Yeah, I got a discussion question to end this whole journey with you.
Sure.
I'd like to hear you give Rise of the Ogre a letter grade and a 1-sentence review. I'll do mine first. Letter grade B, and my 1-sentence review is great for fans, casuals needn't bother.
All right, so mine's a little different, actually. I chose to give it an A-, and my 1-sentence review is both exhaustive and exhausting. Rise of the Ogre is dessert for longtime Gorillaz fans and an excellent potential primer for anyone looking to learn a little more about the band's history and lore.
That's a good point. The real function of this book is if you like the albums and decide, I want to get into this nerd shit. That's what this book is for.
Exactly. And I know I've actually specifically spoken to a few people who've listened to this podcast who weren't particularly big into the cartoon side of Gorillaz, who said, yeah, I actually thought it was really interesting seeing all the how deep this goes. It
certainly does go deep, and we're going to do our best, Trevor, to conclude this story next week with our final lore recapping episode of this season. We'll see. As we know, Phase 3 kind of exploded in their faces, but we'll see if we feel like it comes to a close.
Yes, we're going to be covering Murdoc's Pirate Radio.
And
we're going to be discussing the Book of Gorillaz series, which they posted to Instagram, Preceding Humans.
At the start of Phase 4, that was the thing.
Right.
Until then, please get in touch with us. You can reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, Amino. We have a Gmail. We have our Discord. You can write us a review on iTunes. And please consider supporting the show with a monthly donation on Patreon. Thank you again to our listeners who have done so already. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And until next week, I'm Trevor Ickrath.
And I'm Dillon Flynn.
Don't get lost in heaven.
Demo.
Just hold on, we're going home. Just hold on, we're going home.